Hey guys, how's it going? It's Blaze, back with some more One Piece TCG content for y'all. Hopping back on the OP-TCG market train a little bit. I know I haven't talked about the market too much in a couple weeks. Kind of post OP15, I just sort of have been watching, been waiting, been just trying to see kind of where things are going. And I think I want to come at this from sort of a new angle instead of just talking about the new set. Which I did last time. I could make a video about kind of where we're at post the bubble popping on OP15, but I kind of wanted to go in a different direction and talk about right now what I see as probably some of the best SPs in the game to be looking at and to be targeting. Now, this is a little bit more direct, like advice type stuff. So I do want to preface this video by saying I'm not a financial advisor. This is pure speculation. This is purely my opinion. This is kind of like what I'm looking at personally, seeing where the market's at the moment. And it's stuff that I'm kind of like personally thinking about. And I figured I would share with you guys. That being said, I did want to kind of just take y'all through some of the SPs that I've been looking at recently and what my thought process is around them. So let's get into it. As always, I am running a giveaway for this OP13 Ace, Sabo, and Luffy alternate art card. All you got to do to enter the giveaway is like the video, comment down below, and subscribe. Once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will do a giveaway winner announcement raffle, and you can see how you did in that. Starting off with the Luffy-Tarou OP11 SP. Now, this is a really, really beautiful card. It's gone down a bit recently. We're down to like 300 bucks for this card now. Now, I think this is a card that is probably one of the more affordable like Luffy SPs in the game right now. And I feel like it can't stay that way forever. I almost feel like maybe it's being overlooked due to the fact that it doesn't say like Monkey D Luffy specifically in the title. But it is a Luffy SP and it's a really, really nice one at that. And I feel like I have to look at this at 300 and say this does feel undervalued when I look at the overall data of it being like 400, 400, 400, 300, 440, 440. And then it starts taking this dip down to like 300 here. I think this has to like go back at some point, right? We're seeing a dip here. Previously, the last time we saw this card down to these kind of low prices was like in January. So I feel like if you're looking for a Luffy SP to swoop in on, this might be one of the better ones in the market right now just because the price is dipping. Now, will the price dip more? Is this the time to buy it or do you like wait a little longer? That I'm not really sure, but I think that this Luffy-Tarou SP is one to keep an eye on. Also, by the way, I apologize for my voice during this video. My allergies are really starting to kick in bad, so it might sound a little funky at some points or a little congested. Next one I want to look at is the Buggy SPs from OP14. I feel like these are getting to the point where they kind of like feel like they need to be bottoming out soon, right? We're down to like 800 on the silvers. I don't have the gold pulled up right now, but I think the gold is down to around like 12 to 1300 on it. I think these need to be seeing their floor soon. Like it could go lower, but I don't really see a world where it goes much lower. And this is one of, you know, a very, very nice SP here. One of the like more premium and kind of top tier SPs overall. When you think about it, you know, kind of being in league with like the Shanks and obviously not the gold Luffy. I think the gold Luffy is like in its own tier of SPs, but it's in that premium tier of SPs. And it's going to be from this like first set of, you know, the Luffy, the Shanks, the Buggy, the Blackbeard. Like these are all kind of the top dogs of the SP pool here. And I do think this Buggy is getting to the point where it's kind of got to hit the bottom and start curving up at least soon. So again, one to definitely keep your eye on here. I think both the gold and silver Buggies have a lot of potential coming up. Obviously, you know, down from very expensive sales, nearly $2,000 when it first came out, down to around 800 You know, we saw this big burst of buying in January, and then it really cooled off here. But I don't know how much longer it's going to go cold for as we start kind of getting away from the release of OP14, right? Like OP14 only is going to get more rare. There's only going to be less of these being introduced into the economy, right? So again, looking at around $800 for that. I think this is definitely one to be keeping an eye on, if not snapping them up. Now, these Boa SPs, this might be a weird take because like these are anything but slept on, right? You can say for this one a 900, the OP09 one, same deal with the OP04 one. But I do think at around like under $1,000, we might be starting to reach the point with these Boa SPs where like if you don't get them when they're under $1,000, you're going to regret not having gotten them in the future. As far as like a high-end SP investment, as we get further out from obviously OP04 and OP09, these Boas will only kind of become more and more sought after, I think. And I think that we're starting to hit a point where so many of them are getting bought up and so many of them are getting graded. I see mostly sales for this card. When I see sales for this card, and when I see like at card shows and stuff like that, I see graded copies of this card. I don't really see raw copies of this card, particularly the OP04 Boa. You know, I think that goes somewhat for the OP09 one, but I think we're going to focus more on the OP04 Boa here. And yeah, I think the population of raw copies of this card is starting to get kind of like, I'm not going to say dangerously low, but noticeably low, right? You don't see raw copies of this popping up at card shows all that much. We are seeing a big pickup of sales of this card now that, you know, I think people have kind of realized this is going to be something you can't get your hands on that much longer, and the price was down for a little while. Now, maybe a little bit late to the party here on being, I did see earlier in the month that the price was down here. I thought that might still be the case, but I mean, like $750, $800 is still less than it was going for at one point. I think people scooping them up at like $700 is obviously, this is like a no-brainer here. Like, of course you would get this at $700, but I do think, you know, you see the way it's moving. This is a card that I do think is going to become harder to get in the future. Whether the time to buy it is right now, I'm not sure, but it is something to think about. And then going to the next one, I do think this PRB2 Luffy SP is in the future going to be like quite difficult to get. Near mint, it's going for like $450 right now. Honestly, I feel like that's not bad. You know, we've seen it sell for $500, we've seen it sell for like $400, $450. It's kind of tracking fairly steadily. I do think this is a card that's like probably going to be over $1,000 at some point. Yeah, I mean, you go and take a look at sold eBay listings, and I mean, we've seen one sell for €1,000 already in a PSA 10, which is pretty crazy. I do think this one's a bit of an outlier. If you go back, you see, yeah, more like around $750, $780. But I mean, still creeping up towards $800 fairly consistently. I think in a PSA 10, this absolutely cracks $1,000 at some point in the near future. You're seeing $825, $825. So I think like if you're looking at SPs that make sense long term and you want to get them before they become, you know, prohibitively expensive, I think while this card's in the sub $500 range, it just makes a ton of sense to me. Like I think this is just a really solid bet. It's a short printed set. It's a Luffy. I think you get really good value here. Now this one's a little bit of a weird one. I think this will be a bit controversial, but I think this Vivi SP from EB03 is currently a bit underrated in my opinion. I think this is one of the nicer looking SPs we've ever gotten. And you do see it trending up from like, you know, we had like 300-ish around here. It's trending slowly up over the course of the month. Now, obviously, you know, back a couple months ago, it was worth a lot more when the set was new. It was going for $500, $400 to $500. Now we're down into like the low 300s. But I don't see it going much lower than these low 300s, right? I think this is it's a unique character. It's the only SP that we have of this character. Seeing this kind of like bottom out around 300 and start to crawl back up. I'm not saying this couldn't go lower, but I am saying you look at the trend here, and I do think this EB03 Vivi SP in particular does seem to be maybe at the bottom, and I think this is like kind of a slept on, more affordable SP that I think in the future could do quite well, could rise. I'm not sure you're going to get it a lot cheaper than where it's at right now. Okay, on to the next one. The OP08 Ace. This has been a crazy one to watch. Seeing it just tank down so far is kind of wild. I mean, we can get these for, you know, a little less than $300 now. Before they were, I mean, yeah, we see high sale price close to 500. This was like a very sought after SP, and I think you are seeing a lot of sales on this SP now because people are kind of realizing, you know, it is starting to trend up. Last month it was down like 220, 200. We're seeing sales a little bit higher here. Overall, not that much of a trend up, and you know, you can't trust this line too much, right? Like saying this is actually where things at. We can see things are selling for below those values if you actually go and look at the raw numbers. But it's like it has to kind of hit a point where things bounce back at some point, right? And this is probably the best Ace SP. You know, if you've seen this card in person, it's super, super high quality, super great. Now, it is from a set that is very low value. And it's one of the things carrying that set. So I think, you know, the OP08's just always going to be a weird one. But it's a really, really good SP. It's the best SP from OP08. And I think it's a great Ace card. I mean, probably the best Ace card other than the manga. From OP02, and this is a great price for it, and I'm not sure you're gonna get much better of a price for it. And again, if we go and look at some of these sold listings, I mean, you're seeing them sell for a lot closer to like 500 here. You know, we've got the 400. This one obviously a bit of an outlier. 500 here again, or I guess a best offer, but you kind of get the point. The PSA 10 is still, you know, doing pretty well. This one at 300, somebody got a great deal on that. But it's a card that is going to like hold value in a graded state over time, I believe. After that, we've got the Shanks SP from PRB2. This one I just kind of threw in here because I think it's just cool, and you know, Shanks is a character that I think will have some staying power. I put this in instead of the silver or gold Shanks because I think it's just a little more attainable. Still holding, you know, considerable value, still good rarity, still a set that's pretty short printed, and we are starting to see it trend up a little bit over the past couple months here. I think you look at the trend on this, and it seems like a card that should have some steady, solid growth. Probably not too explosive, probably not the most liquid SP in the world, but I think this is like a good, safe investment over here. And I do think it is a gorgeous card. After that, we have the Sabo SP from OP15. Now, this is a very, very recent card, and this is kind of something I usually would advise against, particularly with looking at how OP04 went. But you look at this card and you look at the price on it being down to around 150. I don't really know if it gets much lower than this, and I do think this is a really cool card. I think this is the most underrated SP out of the recent batch that we've had. If I could snag one of these for, you know, below 150. Now, it could still be going down. So I'm not saying that this is a card where we've hit the bottom on it. I'm just saying with this one, I think you keep an eye on it. I think we're getting close. I don't know if we're there, but I think we're getting close. I'm not sure it goes much beneath 150. If it does keep going down, if it goes down to around like 120 or something, I think it's a great buy for sure. I mean, the art on this is absolutely incredible. Again, I'm also biased to Sabo. I have made bad decisions around Sabo cards before. If you're familiar with me on my channel, you know my history with Sabo cards is a little bit iffy, but that's not going to stop me from repping my boy here, and I do think this Sabo SP in particular is fire. And then last but not least, I am going to put the Charlotte Pudding PRB2 SP on here. I think this is a card that it got slammed really hard because of its competitive playability ban here. And I think from a pure collecting aspect, there's kind of an interesting opportunity here. This does have to bottom out, right? This does have to bottom out. And it is a card with legacy. I've talked about this before. Cards with legacy do actually maintain some amount of staying power in the market. It's also a card that theoretically could make a comeback in the extended format after the second rotation. Now that's a big theoretical. That's a big theoretical, right? It supposes that the card isn't on that list, that it gets unbanned for the extended play. It supposes that extended play will have enough competitive viability and people interacting with it and playing it that there will be a demand for this. That is a fairly significant jump, but I think you consider those things. You consider that in a year, this card will probably become playable again. And then you consider also just the inherent collectability of it. I think now is your time on this card. Seeing a lot of sales here for good reason. Getting this card for this cheap, you're not going to have another opportunity like this, where a lot of people are dumping them onto the secondary market who, you know, were playing with them in their decks and now don't have the ability to. These are not collectors, these are players. They're just trying to get some money back because it's a card they're not currently using. Those same people will then go and buy them back on the secondary market if they want to play extended tournaments in the future, if the extended format picks up speed, which it looks like with the pricing that we're being seen offered for it, there's probably a solid chance that it's going to see, you know, a good bit of play, especially as the player pool increases. The extended format and the pricing they're offering there will definitely be a way to accommodate more players. These events always cap out, so I suspect that you won't see as many players in these extended events, but I suspect that they will actually have some staying power behind them. Okay, well, that's all I got for y'all today. This is just kind of the SPs that I'm looking at the market and I'm seeing that are popping out to me. I'm sure that there's more out there that I didn't immediately identify. Please let me know down in the comments if you have any ideas about SPs that could be interesting to look for, or if you want to just have a conversation. I love looking at my comments. I love answering people. Appreciate all of you. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for entry to that giveaway. And until next time, peace.